I'm going to call the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the month of October to order. Welcome everybody that's here tonight. We have a 5-member board tonight, and the 5 members that are sitting here tonight are member Steve Lianis, Monique Screen-Berry, Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, Mr. James Sweeney, and myself, Chair Kenneth Galligan. Our zoning enforcement officer for tonight's meeting is Mr. James Plouffe. Our recording secretary is Monica Fragazzo. I will explain how this meeting will go so that everybody understands what the procedure is. First of all, I would ask anyone in the audience that has a cell phone or electronic device if you can either shut them off or silence them so that it doesn't affect the meeting. If you need to use your cell phone, I would appreciate it if you go out in the corridor to use the phone. I will also tell you that this meeting is being televised. It is live TV right now, and it is being recorded. Prior to the start of the hearing tonight, there is an opportunity for any petitioner to withdraw. I will say that tonight we have 2 cases that were scheduled for tonight's hearing that have been withdrawn. The first one that is withdrawn is for New Vision Enterprises for the property on Franklin Street. Kindly accept this correspondence as notice of withdrawal of the petition of New Vision Enterprises for this property on Franklin Street. This will not be heard tonight. If you are here for this case, it will not be heard. It will be re-advertised, and it may be held at a future date. Right now, there is no date. The second one that has been withdrawn is the petition of James Victorine, 360 Pearl Street. Kindly accept this correspondence as Mr. Victorine's withdrawal of his petition for a variance, which was scheduled for a hearing this evening. So if you are here for this hearing at 360 Pearl Street, it will not be heard tonight. It may be advertised at a future time, but right now there is no schedule for it. So before we formally start the hearing, is there anyone here that's scheduled to be heard tonight that wants to withdraw? Seeing none, we will continue forward. We have 6 cases tonight. How many? 6 cases. I will tell you up front that since we have such a large audience here for one particular case, that at some point early in the hearing, I will move that case so that it's not scheduled as it is right now at the end of the evening. So I will schedule that as soon as the petitioners are ready to go. The way the hearing will be held is I will call the case. The petitioner will come forward to the podium. The petitioner will present the case to the board. Once the petitioner has completed the presentation, I will ask the board members if they have any questions regarding the testimony that was just given by the petitioner. Once we conclude that, I will then open it up for public discussion. I will first ask if there is anyone here who wants to speak in favor. And in this case tonight, I believe we have quite a few people that are concerned with one case, and it would be helpful if we had one spokesperson who may be speaking in favor. Next, I will ask if there is anyone here that wants to speak in opposition. Once again, if there is many people that are in opposition, it would be helpful if there was one spokesperson rather than a number of people. I will then ask if there's any elected officials that want to be heard on the issue. Following that, I will ask if there's anyone that has any questions relative to the proceedings up until that point. Following that, I will close the public hearing. I will then open it up for deliberations among the board. Now, this is a time when all the board members will discuss openly concerns that they have about the issue or anything that we want to discuss relative to the petitioner's statements, only for the board members. At some point, you will hear one of the board members make a motion to grant. If that motion to grant is seconded, I will call for a vote. Our clerk will call a roll call vote. All 5 members will vote. In order for a petition to pass, there must be a minimum of 4 affirmative votes. So if all 5 members vote in the affirmative, obviously the petition will be granted. If 4 vote in the favor and 1 in the negative, it will be granted. If 3 vote in favor and 2 against, it will fail. So in order for a petition to pass, we must have at least 4 affirmative votes. Following the roll call, the clerk will tell me what the vote is, then I will announce whether or not the petition has been granted or denied. Counselor, you are not ready yet? Not ready yet?
Susan's not here yet. Councilor Castro.
I'll put you in later. All right, the first case before us tonight is petition number 2340, the petition of Carmen Rose, 168 Ridge Street, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from sideline setbacks to build a 1-bedroom addition in an R1C zone located at 168 Ridge Street. Is the petitioner here? Please come up to the podium. Please give your name and address to the clerk.
Hi, my name is Carmen Rosa, 168 Ridge Street in Brockton, Mass.
You're going to be the spokesperson?
I'll speak for her.
Okay, name?
Gary Rosa, address 168 Ridge Street.
All right, what you want to do is speak to the board and explain to us why you need the relief that you need, and where it is a variance, you should indicate to us what your hardship is. What is unique about your situation?
Okay, we're trying to get into my mother's house because we have a situation where we couldn't afford to pay our mortgage, and so we had to leave there, and my mother was nice enough, willing to accept me and my 4 kids and my girl. And right now times are hard, so we tried to add an addition in the back of our house, which is a 1-bedroom, because we have a growing family, and that we need a place to stay, basically. So
Okay, I just want to clarify what has been brought to my attention is the building that you are currently in is already, I guess we'd say, grandfathered on setbacks. So what you're requesting tonight is a special permit where you do
Yes.
not have to demonstrate a hardship, but you need to explain to us why you're asking for this addition. And you
why I'm asking for the permit?
right, for the special permit.
I'm asking for the special permit so we could continue building the 1-bedroom for me and my kids, so we could have a place to stay, because the house is already crowded enough. So that's basically the whole situation.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, board members, any questions?
Sure. How many bedrooms is the structure currently?
3?
3 bedroom? Okay. How many bathrooms?
1.5.
1.5? Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
How many years have you lived at this address?
14 years, I think.
14 years?
Always how long? 14?
14? Oh, 12.
12 years. Have you expanded the size of your house within those 12 years?
No.
Put additions on, or did you buy the house as it is now?
Yes, that's correct.
You bought it as it sits now?
Yes, that's correct.
I'm not sure if I see this clearly, but do you know the size of the addition, the proposed addition, compared to the size of the structure, the current structure?
So I think
No, I don't know the size.
Okay.
I mean, do you have the design over there?
I do. I'm just wondering if what I'm seeing, you know, doing the math is correct. I was wondering if you knew.
Oh, yeah, it's rocket science to me.
Okay.
21 by 17, it looks like.
What's the house? 30 by...
Also, this is what this is, that's the
That's what looks like under 50%.
well under, yeah, well under.
it's all good.
521, and the house is 18. On the site plan, it says the existing house is 1,840 square feet, and the addition is 521.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If I could just add, you said you had 3 existing bedrooms. It looks like on the plan you have 4 existing bedrooms. Is that, did I misunderstand you?
And then
Oh,
after
yeah,
Yeah, full.
yeah, it is for.
Okay, that's fine. I
My
just was
apologies.
curious. Thank you.
And this addition that you're contemplating putting on is right directly on the property line of the house that would be north of you, where the new house is? That's where the addition is proposed to go?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's, I would say, I don't know the zoning line, so, but yeah, it's like on the line of the fence of the house next to me.
All right, the plan shows the setback from that property line to where you want to put the addition is only less than 2 feet, 1.8 feet?
Yeah, that's correct, I guess.
Okay. Very good. All right, any other questions from board members? Everybody's good? I'm going to close that portion of the hearing now. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has any question relative to the hearing that you just heard tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public discussion. It's now time for the board to discuss among themselves what their thoughts are relative to this situation.
So I'll just say it doesn't really, it just, you know, we've had these come before us before. It goes along the same line, and there's no more encroachment than that already 2 feet. Obviously, he doesn't have to show up hardship, according to the superintendent. It's not a lot. It's not more than 50. It doesn't appear to be more than 50% of the structure. It's 1 bedroom and a bath. I know we've had concerns in the bath in the past about adding multiple bedrooms. I think this is a good project that the folks are just trying to maybe get through some harder economic times right now. So, I don't see any issues with it myself.
Yeah, I would say the structure that they're building doesn't seem to be for any other use other than what it is, so.
I agree. It's a very unique layout, the way the house is laid out there. And as the chief said, it's not going to be any further in violation to the side setback.
Motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Landis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative.
The vote is 4 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative. The petition is granted. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
The next petition, 2341, the petition of Danielson Gomes, 1330 Pleasant Street, Brockton, Mass., for a variance, seeking relief from Section 2740 and 279 for a variance to convert into a two-family in an R3 zone located at 24 Parker Street.
Hello,
Good evening. Identify yourself.
Danielson Gomes.
What is it?
Danielson Gomes.
Hey, Mr. Gomes, can you explain to the board what you want to do there?
So, it's there was a raise range. So, I applied for permit to add an addition, and while I was
Could you do us a favor and perhaps pick that microphone up so it's closer to you, or speak into, there you go.
So while I was working on an addition, so I come to the issue that the foundation was most of the house couldn't save the house, so and then end up demo entire wood structure. So then I was working on the foundation, there was one side of the foundation that didn't have there was no foundation at all. The house was sitting on the ground, and then I fixed that. So now I'm facing the issue that I demoed the house, and I'm trying to seek relief to be able to build back on the same way it was, like the same footprint. So also I'm trying to see if trying to get converted into two families, since it's on R3 zone, and then most of the house around there it's two family, three family, and so it's I was trying to see if I can make it two family.
So the house that was there on the foundation that's now exposed was
Yeah.
a single-family house?
Was single family, yeah.
And you built an addition on the back of that,
Yes.
and then tore down the house that's out front?
So what happened is when I built the addition in the back, so the issue that I found is that because the front of the house was lower than the back, so all the water would go through the addition. So then I wouldn't be able to pass the inspections because I would have an issue with the waters that would. So the roof was pitching the way to the house. So I was trying to find some way. Then the only way I found to get out of there is to build the house same height as the addition.
So what section of the zoning are you asking relief from?
The 2740 for the existing house that I demo, and then to convert the two family. So I believe 27.9. So the lot size, I think I'm only 8,000 square feet. 8,000 square feet. So. And so the setback on the existing house, the one that I demo, so the left setback is only 6 feet. So I think that's where I'm having issue with, and then the frontage, I think.
Okay, you're also lacking in square footage that's
Yes.
required for a two-family house.
Yes.
When I was there and looked at this, is the front door of the new house that you have built, is that on the side that faces north?
For the existing house or
The new house, the new addition that you built, where is the front door for that house?
so the front door on the side, and then there is a back door that goes through the back too as well.
Okay, so the front door that would service this new addition that's been built is on the north side of the house?
Yeah.
Very good. Anything else? What is that tower that I see that's on the new addition, that's much taller than the roof line?
Oh, it's the stairs, like it's covered the stairs that goes through it's a flat roof, it goes through the roof.
So that's a stairway?
Yeah, stairway, yeah.
Board members, any questions?
Do you know the dimensions on these parking spots? I see you're showing 4 parking spots in that driveway there. Do you know the dimensions of those?
I believe they 9 and 18, I think.
9 by 18?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure.
Looks like it might say 9 by 20.
Oh,
Can't see that.
so-
Okay. 20.
Next to number 2,
Yep, got it.
which is 180 square feet. Any other questions from the board members? Any comments, questions? You good at this point? All right, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that has any questions relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Whoop, I do have someone out there.
Would the councilors, the board, please speak into the mics? There's a lot of elderly here, and they're having this conversation in a private discussion. You can't hear them.
Okay. Board members, can you
Yeah, you're
speak into the
fine.
mic? Just speak into the mic. Thank you.
Turning away to each other, the mic's over on the right there with the buttons.
Can you adjust this volume on that? You just did. Okay. I'm going to do a test. How does that sound out there, all right? Loud and clear? Okay, good. All right. I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I will then open it up for discussion among board members. Board members.
Through the chair, I just had one more question. He's seeking a variance, correct,
Yes.
on this? And do we know what the hardship is? I meant to ask earlier. I'm kind of confused by the hardship.
None was demonstrated
Okay.
So,
that I heard.
Through the chair, could I just ask him if he knows, do you have a hardship?
yeah, so the hardship, it's a single family situated in a 3-family, in a multifamily zoning. So, like, basically, it's hard to, like, I'm building it to sell, so it's hard to sell a single family in a 3-family zone, so.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think the ask is overwhelming. He does need relief on a couple of different issues here, but it does suit the neighborhood.
So he should require, I believe, what, 12,000 square feet? 10,000 square feet for a 2-family, and we got 83.
I guess my thing too, Mr. Chair, is I'm not really convinced of a hardship from what I understand, the way I see it.
Well, the other concern that I have is the density of the building on the lot. I mean, he's required to have 10,000, he's got 83. It is a very dense neighborhood right now, and the parking scheme, I don't know how beneficial that's going to be to try to get in and out of that driveway to park. I'm really disappointed that the house was built in the back and then the front house was torn down. I think that should have been considered before the addition in the back was built on the back of the house. So it's almost like two separate houses
Yeah.
that were constructed on the lot here, you know?
I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
No.
Chief Nardilli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative.
The vote is 2 in the affirmative, 3 in the negative. The petition is denied. Counselor, is all your people here? In deference to the very last petition, which is the Brockton Housing Authority petition, and the number of people that are in attendance here, I believe, in respect to this hearing, I am going to reposition that hearing and insert the hearing now so we can allow a lot of these people that are here tonight to not sit until the very end of the meeting. So, the next petition that's before us is 2347. The petition of the Brockton Housing Authority, 45 Goddard Road, Brockton, Mass., for a special permitted use, seeking relief from Article 4, Section 2736, 4, 5, and 6, to allow improvements in a flood zone, and Article 3, Section 2710 for a special permit to construct 2 7-story and 1 6-story building not to exceed 70 feet in height. Article 3, Section 2710 for a variance to allow a residential use in a C2 zone. Also, establish the number of parking spaces as none are defined for this use under Article 9, Table 4, located at 1380 and 1362 Main Street. So there are several things that are before us tonight, special permit and variance. Attorney, all yours.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Clerk. My name is Attorney John McCluskey, and I'm here representing the Brockton Housing Authority, which desires to basically rebuild the Campello high-rise. This will be a fairly complicated project, but simple in concept. There are presently, well, first of all, the high-rise was built in 1972, and I looked all over the place and couldn't find any zoning relief, so I think they just built it with a building permit and didn't bother to come to the Board of Appeals, which, you know, back in the day, the zoning ordinance was fairly new and probably nobody thought much about that. We are seeking variance to, so this is in a C2 zone, so we're seeking a variance to allow residential use in a C2 zone. We're also in a flood zone. We were in a floodway, which is the river, which is behind the project. That's been separated off, and I'll show you that shortly. And we have 398 apartments. We want to build the project while those apartments are still in existence and still fully occupied. Once the project is completed, people will move into newer, brand new, about 25% larger apartments with all of the amenities. This is a project right now that we actually cannot get funding to do anything more. I believe it's HUD that won't give this won't give the Housing Authority any more money to improve or work on the existing buildings. HUD is saying, you're done. You're in a flood zone. You can't fix these up anymore. We're not going to help you do that. So it's, first of all, that would be the hardship, in that we have existing buildings that are in terrible condition that we can't fix. So we have to build new ones. I have to remember to bring this with me. So this is, I'm going to go back in a second, but this is what the project will look like. Main Street here. The Housing Authority has a BAT stop at the facility. I forget which building it presently stops at, but BAT comes right onto the property and takes people here and there. And of course, there's also Dial-A-BAT. There, I believe we're seeking 156 parking spaces, which is basically what we have now for parking, and it's underutilized. We have a very few amount of people that drive vehicles, and of course employees would, and there's plenty of space for that. Let me just go back to the so what we have here, a couple things happen. There's a parcel back here that used to be part of this project, and it was the river. And when you're in a floodway, you can't do what we're proposing to do here. So that parcel is just about 10,500 square feet, give or take. That was parceled off and is a separate lot now and is not going to be part of this project. We're still going to be in the flood zone, and this building, which is a 10-story building, what's outlined in red is what we have here. So this building is presently almost all in the flood zone. The electrical components are all, and the mechanics are on the first floor, and it floods a lot. And so we need to take care of this. We need to get rid of this building, get out of the flood zone. The flood zone presently actually comes up, this would be a new building, the replacement building. It actually comes up into this corner. Our plan is to raise the building, get it out of the elevation, so we're going to be in good elevation for a flood zone, and then we're going to find some type of a compensatory area to create additional flood zone area, because we're taking a small part of this out of the flood zone. And so we're proposing 398 units, 7-story buildings, 1 6-story building, all 70 feet and no more. Once those buildings are built, because there's no place to put 398 people in the city of Brockton, we can't just move them someplace else. These are going to remain while construction is going on. These will be built, and when these are built, an occupancy permit issued, everybody's going to move into these 3 buildings, then these will be demolished. So in the meantime, we've got existing parking that will be compromised, I should say. We're going to find parking off-site with a T. I think there are some other private entities that will rent parking space during this period of construction. Also, as part of the project, this outlined in red is the old self-help building. And so this was recently taken by the Housing Authority under its authority to do so. And so self-help will be relocating. This building will be coming down probably right away, right? It would have to be. You're going to build something in its place. Yeah. So that'll be coming down, and then these 3 buildings will be constructed. So we want to have the same amount of parking. We've got the same amount of people, same amount of employees. I believe that's 156 spaces. which we presently have and will have 156 spaces. And we want to build residential properties in a C2 zone. They're already there. The hardship is that, one, the existing buildings are in terrible condition. We're compromised by the flood zone area over here, so there's unusual shape, size, soil conditions, and topography. Topography is included, the existing buildings are included by case law in topography. And so our hardship is that we need to get out of here. We have all of the components. This is a good variance case, actually. And so we need to get all of these components. We have all of these components in place, and we need your permission to allow us to work in the flood zone, residential in a commercial C2 zone, and for the parking of 156 spaces. I think that covers it.
Board members, any questions?
Mr. Chair, if I could, do you have a name for the project?
I'm sorry?
Do you have a name for the project?
I think it's still the Campello high-rise.
Campello Revitalization is what it's called right now.
Okay. Will there be a new name since it's a new structure? Structures?
We have not determined that. We're public entity. We haven't named it.
Okay.
So just to confirm, people are going to stay living in the existing apartments while you're building the new ones, but it sounds like there's going to be no parking for employees while construction is happening, and you're going to figure out where you're going to place them?
Tom, could you speak to that? This is Tom Tebow.
Good evening. My name is Tom Tebow. I'm the Executive Director of the Brockton Housing Authority. Yes, this is a fairly complex project. We have contacted the church across the street. They have agreed to work with us. There are about 80 spaces there. We do have the T across the way. We also own the property at 75 Plain Street, and there are about 20 spaces we could use there. If need be, we'll set up shuttles. It is something that we've been contemplating as we move forward. As you can see, we have quite a few residents here. Many of them have mobility issues, and so it's a big concern of ours.
Thank you.
Currently, you have two buildings down there known as the A building and the B building. And the A building has access from Main Street. The B building has access from Plain Street. Is it intended that that will continue under this new proposal, or will they come together? Or can you just explain how vehicles will move about this project? Might be too high.
So I may not be the perfect one to do that. You want to do that?
Hi, good evening. Steve Baker, Principal of BWA Architecture, Boston, Massachusetts. So the plan is for the major entrance to be off Main Street. And one of the challenges we've heard with the existing Campello apartments is that even though the building B has a Main Street address, you can only enter it from Plain Street. We're going to fix that. All of the addresses will intended to be off Main Street. We do have this primary access. There is a secondary entrance off of Plain Street that will provide parking, visitor parking, as well as resident parking for that building. But the intention is that the primary site access. And we are going to maintain a connection through, primarily for emergency services, so that the fire department would be able to get through. This would be a gate here so that we won't allow for public use, to use the site as a shortcut between Plain and Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. I knew he'd do a better job than I would on that.
I just have a quick, I know this probably still has to go through site plan review, correct?
Yes.
So I know there's a lot of, from the fire safety perspective, just as you know right now, our main fire department connection, there's only one for both the A and the B building that is on Main Street, set up with a hydrant. I know this all has to go through site plan review and how those will be connected between the buildings, if we're going to have different fire department connections. I know we met on this a number of times already with fire prevention. It's not something we have to discuss tonight, but I am assured that will be taken care of in site plan review with Deputy Chief Williams.
That will be taken care of. If you'd like someone to speak to that, we'll, okay.
You really don't have to. I just want it on the record that just
This
in
is
case
going
there's
to,
people
this is going
watching,
to
so
fix
they
a lot
understand
of
that.
problems.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is by far going to be a much better use of the property when it's completed than what you have today.
Completely understand.
Board members, you all set?
Yes.
All right, I'll conclude that. I will now open it up for public discussion. I am going to ask if there is anyone here that wants to speak in favor. It would be very helpful if we had a spokesperson who perhaps could speak for the group that might want to speak in favor.
Is there one person that would like to speak on behalf of everybody?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. My name, excuse me, my name is Dennis Sheedy. I'm the Director of Asset Management for the Brockton Housing Authority. I represent the residents. If you don't mind, Mr. Chair, I would ask them to stand so you would know which members of the audience today reside at Campello High Rise. And we are all here in support of the project. Thank you, sir.
So everyone we see standing is in favor of the project?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak in favor? Not yet. Hold on for 1 minute. Yeah. I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I will now ask if there is any elected official that wants to speak on the issue. Councilor.
Yes, I do. Susan Nicastro, Councilor Ward 4. I live at 90 Samuel Avenue. Thanks for waiting for me. And I do want to speak about this, and I know quite a lot about this property. I go there fairly regularly, and I have been involved in the planning for these new buildings. And I wholeheartedly support it, and I ask you, I practically beg you to approve this tonight. You can see from the plans, the Housing Authority has been working on this a long time. Their consultants, including Attorney McCluskey, have done a fine job of explaining to you the necessity for this relief from the Zoning Board of Appeals. I just want to say very quickly that there's all kinds of additional residents of these buildings that these residents have to put up with, including rodents and bugs and who knows what else. And these buildings were designed to be in the West. They were designed for Arizona and New Mexico. That's, for some reason, this design was used in sunny, cold New England. And all these years, the Brockton Housing Authority has tried to put a Band-Aid on it and done their very best to make these buildings habitable for the benefit of our residents, but enough is enough. And I want to give you a quick example of that. At the end of at the end of July, you know, I'm from Pennsylvania, and the Pennsylvania girls who I went to grade school, high school, and college with were up for the weekend. And we were just leaving a certain oyster restaurant in Duxbury and a lovely meal on a Saturday night when I got a call from a resident who was forced to come down six stories because all of the electricity left the building and they were all in darkness. And so he made it to his car very carefully. And for the next couple of hours, we kept talking. And I kept making other calls in between, trying to find them help and find some power of restoration for them. And they just can't keep going on like this. And everyone has been part of the planning, and they know that it's going to take a couple of years to get this done. But you can see from the plans, it's very thoughtfully designed so that there is the least amount of intrusion into their existing lives. The first building will be built, and then the people in the A building will move to it. And the people in the B building will wait, and the A building will be taken down, and then the B building will be erected, and the B building people will move there. It's hard at the ages that many of these people are at to keep moving around, and the Housing Authority has very thoughtfully figured this out. And so I could go on and on. I mean, Attorney McCluskey said it. This is such a great example of hardship in zoning. And so I want to, as a real estate attorney, I see it clearly. He certainly sees it. And so I want to ask you to please support this. I support this, and I think this is going to be better for many of our Brockton residents. Does anyone have any questions for me?
I do. Do we know since it's going to be a live-in and construction, do we know the turnaround time? Total package?
It's going to depend on the financing structure. Right now, the thinking is that the overall project duration is probably about 36 months, but it could be longer. It could possibly be less, but frankly, not likely less, because it depends on how the financing structure works. It's likely that each building is going to be its own separate vehicle, and so there'll be some delay between them. So, and we can't say for certain, but it's 36 months, perhaps a little bit longer.
So the funding will cover a total building so residents can move whatever phase you're in?
Yes, and I do want the board to know we did submit 3 applications today to Mass Development for new market low-income tax bonds. So it will be based upon the state's cap, and there's a lot of stuff happening right there. You know about the affordability crisis in the state and the country. Governor Haley is pushing for more programs to do this. So when it's 36 months. We have it out at 36 months, but you obviously need the money to all show up, and it's quite a large project.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. And
Welcome.
please, I urge you to approve it. Thank you.
Is there any other elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Is there anyone here who has any questions based upon the testimony that has been given so far tonight? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public discussion period, and I'm now going to open it up for deliberation among the board members.
Mr. Chair, due to my day job, I've been involved in some of the beginning works with this. I was invited to a meeting back in probably early spring last year, and we got a real nice overview of the entire project, how it was going to work, how it was going to be put together. And the thought process that when we walked into that meeting was how well, and when we walked out, how well it was laid out. They had a real good plan, especially to the question of some of the board members here tonight in regards to where the occupants of those properties now would end up, where they would live, how they would be moved. This is a complex project that Executive Director Tebow and his entire executive staff and everyone throughout the entire Brockton Housing Authority has taken on for the betterment of the residents of Brockton. And to the point of the hardship, I really believe it really is pretty clear from my estimation the hardship they are living with. I think to Mr. McCluskey's point that they just kind of built it and this is it, and we're going to live with it. And I think now, not only is this, in my opinion, a good project for the residents that live there, but it's a great project for the rest of Campello. So I really believe that, you know, all the right moves have been made prior to them even stepping here in the conversations. I mean, they didn't have to talk to us to the in-depthness that they did in the fire service beforehand, but I think they understood how complex of a project this was and was going to be, and I think they really wanted to show that they had the, for lack of a better term, the bull by the horns to get this done. So I couldn't support a project any more than I do this one right now that's going on in the city, and I applaud them for what they've been tasked with taking on and how they're doing it. So that's all I have.
I would just say, the residents deserve a better place to live. They will have to live through some construction, so there's going to be some pain with growth, but I think when the project is said and done, it's going to be a magnet for other good investment in the area, so. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got a couple of comments. I will say in my previous lifetime, I can remember a situation down there where we had a major flooding situation at the B building, and the river came up and the entire first floor of the B building was probably a foot of water through the entire place. So those two buildings, as I remember them, were built for another purpose. And I believe the Housing Authority bought them and made them into what it is today, which is elderly housing. But in retrospect, that B building probably should have never been built where it was. So what's being proposed tonight is to take that building out of there and move the whole complex westerly more towards Main Street, which will get it out of that floodplain. I think that's a huge step in the right direction. And the fact that it's going to go from 10 stories to a lower height probably will be aesthetically more pleasing to the Campello area. Before anybody makes any motions here, there's several things before us, which is special permits and variances. And the special permit obviously is to build in the flood zone to exceed the variance is going to be to allow a residential use in a C2 zone. If this was not a residential area prior to tonight, I think that would probably be a little different than it is now, because basically for the last 50 years it's been used as a residential area. So the other thing that we need to talk about is the number of parking places. They're telling us they have room for 156 vehicles. I have driven through there a number of times, and it appears that in most times that I've been through there, there is open spaces. So obviously everybody that lives there doesn't drive a car. So it's our job as the zoning board to determine if we believe 156 spaces is sufficient for what they're looking for. So you'll have to make that determination on your vote. So there's several things here as far as a variance, special permit. It would probably be best if we vote all of those together rather than separately. So if a vote is taken, I would entertain that we combine the variances and the special permits and combine them all into one vote.
I'll make a motion to take them all collectively as one vote, because we'll have to, Mr. Chair, correct me if I'm wrong, I'd have to make a motion to take them all together, correct?
Yeah, why not? I mean, there's so many of them before.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we take them collectively as one vote.
Second.
All right, the motion has been made that collectively we take all of the requested special permits and the variance as one single vote. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted.
Mr. Chair, take another vote. Motion to grant.
Okay? Second. We'll take a second vote then to make sure we grant it. So we granted the taking collectively, we'll take a vote on granting. Okay. Will the clerk please call the roll again?
Mr. Lanus.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
The petition is granted. In deference to everybody that needs to leave the room, I'm going to call a short recess. We are recessed. Shut the mics off. I'm going to reconvene the board meeting, and the next case that is before us is petition number 2342, the petition of Jeffrey Martin, 10 Churchill Avenue, Brockton, Mass. Churchill Avenue Extension, Brockton, Mass., seeking relief from Section 2719 and 2720 to build an accessory structure, a shed, in an R1C zone located 10 Churchill Avenue, and that should be Churchill Avenue Extension, I believe. Is that correct for the address, Churchill Avenue Extension?
Yes.
All right, Monica, just make sure that we get that squared away on the final. It's Churchill Avenue Extension. We do the final draft of that? Okay.
We're right up here.
All right, you all set? All yours.
Good evening, Chairman. I have a sketch drawing of the proposed
Please
shed.
identify yourself.
My name is Jeffrey Martin. I have a sketch drawing of the proposed shed that I'd ask if I could pass out to the members to view.
Yes, give it to the clerk, and he will give it to the board members. This is only to help us make a decision. This is a variance, correct? The board members, this is a variance. Okay, all yours.
So I'm here tonight to ask for relief of Section 27-19, the number of buildings restricted on lots, and I have an existing shed and above-ground swimming pool, which is the two accessory structures. I'm also asking for relief from Section 2720, which is the side yard requirements. The reason for the variance is our need for more storage space. Currently, we have a two-car attached garage, which has my wife's cars, also my motorcycle. I have a workbench along with my toolboxes. We have a section of the garage for my heating system that covers the whole house. We also have well water with the water filtration system and storage tanks for our domestic water. We have no public water on our road, so all the houses have to have well water and filtration systems. There's also my irrigation system that's in the garage. In between the trash barrels, recycles, yard waste bins, and et cetera, there's just no more room in the garage for storage. My current shed contains all my yard tools, walk-behind lawn mowers, leaf blowers, weed whackers, chainsaws, rototillers, power washers, fertilizer spreaders. There's coolers, propane tanks, window air conditioners. I have a lot of yard ornaments that for Halloween and decorations and things like that. I mean, the shed is just packed. Right now, the second shed would be for my storage of mostly my deck furniture, the pool filter, the pump, along with pool chemicals. There's my solar cover, the winter cover. There's a set of walk-down stairs to the pool and stuff. Right now, that stuff's all getting stored in my family room in the lower level of the house because I have no storage space for that. I have a ride-on lawnmower with a dump trailer and stuff like that. In the fall, I have to bring it to my daughter's house and store it in his garage because there's just no space for it. So that's another reason for the additional shed. In the shed would be storing most of these things. Also, I'd like it to have a work area also in the shed there for me to do small projects and stuff like that because I really have no area now to do that. The configuration of the lot leaves the location that I have the best area. And the hardship is just any place else would just be, I feel, just in the middle of the yard and be infringing on that. So, if you have any questions,
I think, Mr. Martin, just so I know, that you're saying the configuration of the yard is your hardship?
Yes. The way the shed is located on there, on the plan and stuff, if I tried to turn it sideways to relieve me from the setbacks and stuff, it would have to become closer to the pool. Just with the grandkids in the yard, it's not a very big yard. I have a garden in the yard and stuff, and it would take on that. And then the access to the shed to do that with the pool and stuff, it would be really hard to get into the shed if I did try to turn it the other way for the relief of the side yard setbacks.
So pretty much the whole shed's going to be storage?
Pretty much just storage, and I'd like just a little work area and stuff like that for small projects that I do. I was in construction all my life, so it basically not doing that anymore, but there's always things to do between my daughter's house and the family house and stuff like that, and around our house.
I have a question for our building inspector. I'm looking over section 27-20, and it seems to be a little contradictive in the aspect where it says no accessory structure is located closer than 5 feet to the side and rear lot lines. But that's in item 1. and item 3, it also says accessory structures shall comply with front and side yard requirements for a principal structure in which they are an accessory. So I'm just kind of wondering, with those two in there, which one is it throughout the section?
We enforce the most restrictive.
Okay. So A should just be stricken.
Well, not necessarily. They apply to all zones, and some zones don't have rear and side setbacks, such as the commercial zones.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, sir.
So we're hoping that in any revision of this zoning, that's going to be one of the issues that we're going to address.
Okay.
You're telling us that this is strictly a storage shed, maybe do some maintenance of stuff out there. There is no intention on your part to make this into any kind of a dwelling?
No, no.
Right, so you would not have a problem that if we put a stipulation on here that this shall not be used for dwelling, domicile, no living purposes whatsoever?
Not at all. It's just, it's more for security. I have some stuff that's out in the yard, some tools, ladders and stuff like that. We've had problems with break-ins and stuff like that. I have thousands of dollars that got stolen out of my truck. My neighbor shed got broken into. They just took snow blowers. They loaded up a whole pickup truck, snow blowers, all his yard tools and stuff. So I just I'm looking for a more secure area for our stuff there, so.
It would appear that from the map here, there will never be anything that will come even close to this potential location because of the wetlands that's all around it.
Correct.
So nothing will ever be built behind it or next to it. It's
No, I don't believe so. I believe also that big open area in the back is in the floodplain zone.
Yep. All right, any other questions from the board members? Everybody's good? I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has any comment relative to tonight's hearing? We do have a letter of support from a next-door neighbor at 14 Churchill Avenue Extension to the Board of Appeals, and this letter is in strong support for granting the request tonight. And did you get a copy of this?
I just, yep.
We all have that, okay. So we have a letter in support of granting. So is there anyone else that wants to speak on any question you may have on the issue? If not, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. I'll now open it up for deliberation from the board members. Board members?
Well, I think on sheds, with the single-family house, the longer you live in the single-family house, the more you're going to need a shed. Okay, if you're maintaining it on your own and properly, and since you have a pool, all the more reason that you're going to need proper storage. I think this is a much better place to store your belongings instead of scattered around the lawn and around the yard, so, and to secure that. So I support this wholeheartedly. Motion to grant.
Second.
Just on the motion, I think we should consider the fact, too, that he testified that for security of the property that he owns, this is going to allow him to have more security of that, so. All right, a motion has been made and seconded to approve. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Landis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted. Good luck.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
The next petition, 2343, has been withdrawn, and that is the petition for Plot 1-2 Franklin Street. That one will not be heard tonight. The next petition, 2344, that also was withdrawn, correct? Pearl Street. I did say that, yes. So 2344 for 360 Pearl Street has also been withdrawn. It may be heard at some future date. The next petition is 2345. Petition of Rob Nakajian, Treasurer, CO, Rising Community and House Incorporated, 787 North Shore Road, Revere, Mass. Seeking relief from Article 4, Section 2728, and Article 3, Section 2710, to allow apartments in a C1 zone located at 30 Intervale Street.
Good evening again, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Clerk. For the record, Attorney John McCluskey, representing the petitioner, Rising Community and Housing, Inc., and its principal, Rob Nakajian, here. There he is right there, and his brother, and the rest of the gang. Ed Jacobs is here to speak to the plan. This is a request for a variance to allow housing in a C1 zone and for relief from parking. This project is probably not new to some of the members of the board. If you were here in 2019, it actually came before the board twice. One for a 10-unit apartment building, and then later for a 15-unit apartment building. Both of the projects were approved by the Board of Appeals with the basic existing, shown on the plan, parking configuration. For a variety of reasons, probably most of which are economical, these didn't happen. And Mr. Nakajian and his company, which is a Massachusetts nonprofit educational corporation, which fits in under the so-called Dover Amendment, looked at this and said, well, maybe we can do something a little different here. And they've partnered with Father Bill's in Mainspring. I actually also represent Father Bill's in Mainspring, and I've spoken with John Yaswinski about his desire to partner this with the corporation for what they call permanent housing. And so what the intent is to put in 32 single-person apartment units, pretty much studio units. And the interesting thing here is that what's been approved, the last been approved in 2019 was 15 units, but with 32 bedrooms, 31 bedrooms. So we're actually asking for one more bedroom. And the picture of this would be that what would happen here is that there would be 32 individuals, adults, who would come and live on a permanent basis at this facility, learn life-important things about getting back into the community, if you will, getting a job, keeping a job, management of their lives, staying sober, being a part of the community. And on site, there would be always someone there that would be 24/7. And during the day, there would be various programs to integrate these folks into the community and get them back on their feet. We've actually seen something like this with Father Bill's in Mainspring over at the roadway, which is the old Carlton House in Brockton. I drive by there almost every day, and I see the activity going on with people coming and going, and employees and people being involved in the reintegration of these folks into the community. I also see the residents, most of which walk from that facility. Oftentimes I see them going over the highway over to Cumberland Farms and coming back with some food, etc. But each of these units would have a kitchen, basically a studio. And so it would have kitchen, bath, and living facilities. And these on Intervale Street would be near the Public Transit Authority. I don't think that Intervale is right on a bus route, but it's close enough so that it would work. The Father Bill's in Mainspring, they've found historically that 10% of the population drives a vehicle. The rest of them rely on public transportation, BAT, dial-a-BAT, family members. So these would be people, historically, that what we see is that these would probably be Brockton people who now would have a place to live. And in this 32-unit apartment building could do so with dignity. You know, pretty much what you see here is that the existing building would come down. It's a horror show. Rob just showed me he's got cameras up now all around the place with the 24/7 cameras on the building, on the parking. He's closed off the existing parking, and that's the way they operate. They make sure that they take care of their properties. They have one or two successful properties in Lynn, where where they've done pretty much the same thing. So these folks are very well known on the North Shore. They knew about Father Bill's place, so they came down to Brockton to say what's available and what can we do to help in this situation. So they've been very successful. This is not the first time that they've looked at a project like this. So this awful looking building would come down. It's in an area of many multifamily homes. This is in a C1 zone, so again, we need a variance to allow residential in a C1 zone. And they've already gone to Conservation Commission and received, actually it was the prior owner that received an order of conditions to allow this structure and the parking as you see it. So I would say that the hardship obviously is that what's there needs to go. It's just awful looking. In a C1 zone, it's very unlikely that you're going to find C1 uses coming to this location because, you know, the Brockton zoning map is all over the place. And we've got C5 here, C2 here. Most of Main Street and places like that are C2. I get that. But this is probably not a good C1 use. And so what we'd respectfully ask is, based upon the hardship of the fact that this property is in a C1 zone and there would be unlikely any C1 use here, that it's an unusual shape and size. It's got this little L coming off the edge. And what we propose and what the board has already found on 2 occasions is that this general type of residential use is acceptable here. And I think the city would probably be looking forward to getting something done on this property to clean it up and move it forward. And, you know, I drive through the city a lot, and it seems to me that the homeless population, I see fewer homeless people downtown. People may not, where you are, I think you probably still see quite a few.
Yep.
But these are the types of people that would be coming to this type of location. Down on Main Street, I had a fairly good-sized homeless population behind my office, between the 2 churches, St. Margaret's and the Lutheran Church. And, you know, we need to find a place for these people to live. So I think this is a good use. It's a good Dover Amendment type of a case where we can operate this by right, but need the board's permission to reduce the parking. We'd have ample parking here for employees and residents. With 32 residents, so that'd be at most, we'd need four spaces and then 3 or 4 employees during the day. So we'd be asking you for a variance for use and for the parking. I'm done.
Board.
Sure. Is this, so you say it's partnered through Father Bill's, and is it going to be similar to the Manley Street project? I'm familiar with the services that they're going to provide in that location.
Types of services, obviously the campus is entirely different because of the size.
Are there any services outside of living there?
Oh yeah, on-site you'll have, we're actually doing one in Stoughton right now with the old Stoughton Motel. I've got to be in Stoughton Planning Board tomorrow evening. But what their model is, you know, Father Bill's has gone from a sort of a rescue mission, providing overnight housing, food and shelter, and then out on the street in the morning, to a much more comprehensive program wherein people are going to live there, they're going to learn life skills, their family will be close by, they'll have a beautiful place to live, and they'll become integrated with living a normal life.
So on this location, what services will be provided?
Those types of services,
Okay.
Teaching them skills about getting and holding a job, and cooking, and shopping, and spending and budgeting their money, and getting jobs, and staying sober. That will be on site. This is not just a residence.
Will it be something that will rotate resources from the other Father Bill's locations? Or is
Well, you know, we have so much of the problem's huge. So they'll have, when you say rotate, will people be going, I'm assuming that
will services be rotating?
Someone will be at one place one day and this place the next day, and probably, yeah. And there'll be somebody here all the time supervising.
So there were 4 employees on site? 4 employees on site? Is that what-
Overnight, there's just one. And then during the day, you'd get 2, 3, 4 people, depending upon what was going on, what type of, exercises were going on in their education.
Thank you.
Mr. McCluskey, just real quick, in your hardship, in the documentation we have in front of you, it states, as the property backs up to the Trout Brook, it is subject to an order of conditions issued by the Conservation Commission, thereby imposing unique soil conditions within the variance standard. So does the Conservation Commission, have they declared there to be a soil issue in that area?
Yeah, there's a recorded, I have it in my file, there's a recorded order of conditions.
And soil condition is one of them?
Yeah. It was for a slightly, it was for one of the other projects that you approved, but the footprint is the same, parking's the same, just the internal makeup of the building is different.
So to answer that question, that was relative to the prior granting, correct? Conditions that you just talked about was relative,
The order of conditions?
that was related to the prior.
Right.
All right. This building is different than the building that we approved a couple of years ago.
Yeah, but the order of conditions is I believe, quite sure that it's relative to this area of the parking. Maybe Ed can speak to that.
Yeah. This plan down here, thanks, John. This plan down here is actually what was approved, the latest approved. This was the 15-unit one that you guys approved a few years back. And if you just look at the two of them, they're exactly the same. The only thing that we really changed is we have roof drains coming off a different side of the building, and we've changed, and this will have to go through Concom, but we've just changed where this infiltration, the stone infiltration trench is, and into the swell. But as far as parking, the size of the building, the size of the addition, footprint is all exactly the same. We've just added a little bit more lawn actually in front of these. The original one that you approved last time, this was all concrete in the front. They were going to have patios on the first floor. Now this is all going to be green with just one central entrance with a handicap ramp coming up to it right here. That's really the only difference.
Well, looking at the plans here, it appears as though this addition on the back, which would be the west end of the building, there's a new addition that's 33 feet longer than the original building from the last granting. That's why my question was, this building is larger than the last one. You're saying no?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'm looking at the plan right here, which is dated April 15th, 2019, and the dimension right here is 52.8, and it's 41.4 across, and the new plan, that same dimension is 52.8 and 41 across.
So it says a proposed 1,370 square foot addition. Explain what that means then.
I think that was your 2019.
Yeah, it's 1,370 square feet here, and it's 1,370 square feet on the one in 2019 as well.
The plans I'm referencing is August 25th, 2023.
I can answer that question for you. I'm the architect, Stephen Gribben. The original what was proposed, I wasn't part of the original designs for what was approved before. I am the architect of the current version of the project. What happened was what was approved before was the existing footprint that's there now. There was an addition added to that to make up the dimensions that are on the approved plans for the last two times. And we've kept that same dimensions, which was the added footprint.
So you're saying this dimension of 33.3 feet was part of the original building?
If you guys can see this plan right here, if you see this jagged line right here?
That's correct.
That's the end of the existing building, current building.
Correct.
Then this section right here is the added-on piece. That was approved in the previous version. And we've kept that same footprint for the current version.
Okay, so the confusing part is it says proposed.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're telling us. Okay. So the plan is to demolish this building?
Yep.
Going to pour a new foundation?
You reuse the existing foundation on the existing building and then just put a new foundation on that new section. And that new foundation, per the Concom, has to have allow the flood waters go in and out of it. So we'll have the movable vents and all that kind of stuff on the foundations.
So on this foundation that's going to be on the back of the building, when the river floods, the water will go up under the building and then go in and out of that building?
Correct.
Interesting.
It's typical FEMA way they handle that.
So where are the utilities going to be for this building coming in if it's going to flood underneath?
So the way the building, well, I'll just take a step back. The established flood, The established floodplain is at this, at whatever, I can't remember the level, but it's at a certain level. We are 2 feet above that per FEMA, so that we are out of all of it, and our actual materials and stuff are out of the flood zone. So essentially, the existing building, when it, obviously when it floods, it'll hit the existing foundation, go nowhere, and then potentially, if it needs to, go underneath the building, the new section. All the utilities are come in on the first floor, which is above the high floodplain, FEMA plain, and then there's utilities rooms on each floor above that to allow for whatever we need.
So there's no utilities that go below, is there no basement in
There's no basement whatsoever, no.
There's no utilities in the basement?
Correct.
There's no utilities in the basement. The utilities come into floor 1 and go from there?
Correct.
Okay, understood.
Is there a basement under the original building?
It's a crawl space, but it needs to be filled in. If you look at the current one now, all the windows are blocked up with brick, so there's really no access to it, and there's really nothing there. So it's just going to get basically filled in solid.
If it gets filled in, though, how is it going to work with the floodplain to let the water flow through it?
The floodplain is only for the new addition. It's not the existing building as it currently stands is out of the FEMA flood zone. Yes.
So the other question I had was relative to snow storage area. See on your plan down on the lower right-hand side?
Yep.
Can you explain that to us?
Yeah, the snow, I think when we talked about this back in 2019, the snow was going to be moved by machine over to this area behind where this finger comes out right here. And any snow, like on a large storm, would be removed from the site.
Is that asphalt where that snow removal is?
No, it's grass.
That's grass.
This is all grass right here.
So it will be pushed out of the parking lot around the building into that area?
It'll be carried by machine from here over to here and dumped.
On the lawn?
Yeah.
Okay.
So with this new addition on the back, built in the floodplain, that's going to have to be one of the things that you're going to ask for tonight?
Yes.
Permission to build in the floodplain?
Yes.
And that permission is going to allow for water to go under the new addition, and when the tide goes out, it goes out. It can come in and go out.
Correct.
In basic terms.
Correct.
Was there any thought to relocating this building where you're really going to demolish it and take it all down, repositioning it on that lot? All right, I'm just going to make a comment. If this building is going to be demolished and done away with, if that building was flipped on the lot so that the building was on the north side of the lot with parking between the two buildings, it would certainly be a lot aesthetically better looking than what we have there. We're actually reproducing well, you've described it as an eyesore and it needs to go. We're going to rebuild what's there now, basically, a square shoebox building that has no architectural features to it whatsoever, and we're going to put it right back in the exact same spot again, and actually enlarge from what we see up there today. That's kind of what's happening here.
Well, what's happening here is that this proposed building is pretty much exactly what you approved in 2019.
But it was for a different use. We had, I think, what was it, 15 apartments?
15 apartments.
Apartments rather than what we have.
Which, by the way, as you know, when you have 31 bedrooms, you don't necessarily have to have 31. You might have 45.
I know that, yeah. I'm aware of that.
And here, it's 32 people, end of story.
I understand that. And the other thing that you're showing is parking on Intervale Street.
Right.
Is that part of what your required park? Why did you specify parking on Intervale Street?
This is the same one that we did in 2019 to catch up to the 25 spaces. 20 spaces on site and 5 spaces in front of the building.
We probably only need 10 spaces.
All right, so what we need and what we have, just tell me again, how many off-street parking places do we have? Off-street.
Off-street.
20?
20. So by what's typical of Father Bill's, if you had 4 employees, you'd need at most 9 spaces.
Okay, let me just finish my questioning now. So the off-street parking, you're providing for 20 spaces, and then 5 spaces on the street. So
We're just showing those spaces. We're not asking for relief, that's on the plan.
what is the number, you're saying 20 parking places in your statement here, which is on-site?
On-site.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we really should not be counting those spaces out on that street.
Yeah.
It is a public street. You cannot make that residential parking only. That would have to be a determination of the Traffic Commission.
Somebody could use it.
And on Intervale Street, in the snow emergency between December 1st and April 1st, there is no parking allowed after midnight on that street. So I just want to make sure we don't include those parking spaces that are on Intervale Street as our overall parking for this whole place.
Right. On-site, we have twice the amount of parking that we need.
You're saying that?
Through experience and through my representation of my knowledge of this type of use. Yep.
My other question was, in the testimony that you gave, you were talking about instructions that will be given to the people that will be living in this building. Where would that take place in the building? I don't see any common area here at all.
So there's common area on each floor, and there's also office on the first floor. So when you come up in the center of the building, each floor has its own common space.
And how big is that common space?
It's the size of one unit, so it's probably about 400 square feet, give or take.
Okay. And the dumpster location is kitty corner in the corner. Okay. Can you
Of course, would also
explain?
be subject to site plan approval.
Yeah, I know it. I'm just talking here. And we got a telephone existing vault that sits out back. I guess they walk to that when they have to do any work with that. That doesn't require access. Can you just explain to us, the main entrance to this building will be on the north side of the building facing the parking lot. In the past, we have been pretty specific that on a multi-apartment building such as this, multi-occupancy, that there has to be direct access for emergency personnel to go in and out of that building. In other words, you cannot allow vehicles to park across the front of the building where that door is located. So can you explain to us what your parking scheme is relative to the front door?
Right here is the walkways coming in off the parking lot, and this goes into a handicap ramp to get up to it, or you can use these stairs. Our thought was this striped area between the 2 handicap spots would always be accessible for emergency vehicles, emergency personnel to get into the building.
Okay, so what would prohibit anybody from parking in there? Would it be signage or something that would
Yes.
say that you can't park there?
Yes, it'll
You know,
be striped.
that's a critical component of
I
a
know.
building like this,
Nope, I know it.
that you've got to have access to get in and out of that building.
Yeah, the last time, we had a dedicated spot there, and you had us put a couple of bollards there. So where we have, more parking, as Attorney McCluskey said, we could probably move the handicap spots one over and put another striped area there with a bollard, if you prefer that, right in front of where the walkway comes out.
Well, I'm only just conjecturing here that the other thing that sometimes is lost in these plans is the number of vehicles that come in there to make deliveries, like UPS or whatever. And they're only going to be a minute, but they're going to park wherever they can find. So that was the premise of my question, that if that space was available, I wouldn't be surprised that it's going to end up being an area where it's going to get filled up. So the plan is to demolish the current building, build a brand-new building on the existing foundation, and to construct a new foundation on the west end of the building that's not there today. That's all open area. And with the idea that, as far as conservation is concerned, if the water in that river should overflow, that the water could come up underneath of that building, and then at some point the water would go out of that building.
Right.
Correct. And we're 14.8 feet away from the adjoining building. We're 10 feet from the property line?
10 feet away from the fence. The property line is basically the building. The old Mallard Club.
Yes.
The property line is that. We're putting a fence here. It's kind of a strange situation. The Mallard Club has a back door right here with no access without going over somebody else's property. So there's going to be a fence going down here so they can walk down here to the back and get into this is all paved right now. So it's going to be grass. So it's really 10 feet to the fence, 14.8 to the building, which is the property line. It's even like a 5-foot walkway for the people that work at the Mallard to get to the back door. Or for emergency personnel.
All right, and my last question, I believe, is at the bottom of the plan along Trout Brook. That Trout Brook at the back of this parking lot goes into a culvert, correct? Yeah, so the open brook is kind of north of where this is.
Correct.
Right. What is above the culvert where I see these directional lines, proposed crushed stone line swale? What are those arrows?
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah, they're pointing to, so we have a stone diaphragm right here to catch the rainwater, and it's going to go into a swale, a grass swale, and that swale's going to bring the overflow down into the Trout Brook. It'll all be treated. That was all approved by Conservation Commission.
So those arrows are not a area that a vehicle would drive on. That is something that's going to control the water.
Correct.
So if that's the case, how do you get to the snow storage area that we talked about earlier down the
Swales,
right?
it's only like a half a foot. It's only a very slight swale. It's only like a half a foot deep, 6 foot wide.
Very good. Any other questions from board members?
Yes, a question I would have, sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Good. Actually, could you explain once again what the difference was with this plan opposed to the one that was granted back in 2019, besides the extra unit?
I believe, Ed, correct me if I'm wrong, that they're basically the same.
So besides the one unit, it's pretty much what was approved last time?
Right.
Pretty much identical, except for the number of units.
Right, that's really the only change, the number of units.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay.
So would you be satisfied with a special permit instead of a variance?
Well, this is in a C1 zone, so we need residential use in a C1 zone.
Okay.
And then we need relief from parking.
We couldn't do that via, my only concern is if the model fails, the Father Bill's model fails, property goes up on the market with the variance, it's going to be used for residential living with drastic reduction in
Well, you know,
parking.
I think you could, we would agree to condition it, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but we would agree to condition it on educational, residential educational use under the Massachusetts not-for-profit Dover Amendment exceptions.
If it limits it, that's fine under those circumstances, but for general living conditions, that's my only concern, and that's why I asked you.
Yeah, but we'd be willing to condition it.
Okay.
We already own the property. We could put some kind of deed restriction on it. And if that wasn't going to work, we'd come back to the board for something different. You know, when Father Bills goes into these things, they pretty much know this is going to be a long-term operation.
As they should. I'm just, worst-case scenario for the city side.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah, well, it's the same as the roadway. I don't know what exactly they did for the change in the number of units, but that's what it is. That's what you're going to see there for a long, long time.
All set? Okay, all set with that. I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in opposition? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. Is there any individual that has a question relative to the testimony that has been given? Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public hearing on this case. I will now open it up for deliberation among the board members.
Mr. Chair, I guess I'd like to hear your thoughts on special permit versus variance in this situation.
Well, obviously, they're going to need a special permit because they're going to be building in the conservation area in the wetlands. I was kind of surprised tonight to hear that it's going to be built so that the water can actually go under the building and go out. That's certainly different. So they're going to need a special permit for that. As far as the variance, this is in a C1 zone, which is neighborhood commercial, which, as you probably know, the village for years was all commercial village, use in that village. And it has changed down there. So the zoning is still C1, and they're going to need the variance to allow residential to be put in the C1. So I guess I don't know where we would go with the stipulation that a deed restriction could be put on this, that, I don't know what the deed restriction would say, that if it wasn't used for its intended purpose, which is for Father Bill's type of operation, that it's a use variance. I'm not quite sure how that would hold up, how that could be challenged. I mean, it is what it is. I think if we're granting a variance, we're granting a variance to allow this piece of property to be used by residential purposes. And I don't know how restrictive we can or want to get involved with it. So I think when the vote is taken, you're going to have to base your vote on the fact that, can this property be used for C1 purposes? Is there a hardship that was shown relative to this piece of property? And is what's being proposed tonight an appropriate use for that particular location? I don't think we should get too far out in the weeds here about making stipulations on things. They gave testimony that their opinion is that the parking for this facility is more than sufficient for what's required. So you'll have to take that into consideration when you make your vote. They also said that even though they show parking spaces on Intervale Street, that is not actually part of their parking scheme. The 20 spaces that they're talking about are all off-street parking places. So I don't know what else to tell you other than a special permit which will allow them to build in the floodplain, and a variance which allows them to put residential in a C1. And obviously the position of the board is this the best use for that location? And has the petitioner demonstrated a hardship for that location? So that's what the board's going to take into consideration. Thank you, sir.
I think it's a good project for Father Bill's. It was approved pretty much basically the same thing besides the one unit back in 2019. But I do have the same concern as Mr. Sweeney. If this goes under, is it going to be a residential? But I think the parking is plenty for Father Bill's.
Yeah, I'm in support of it, and I hearing the chair's thoughts on it, you kind of have to pick a direction and go.
Right. I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant. Will clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Lantis.
Yes.
Chief Nardelli.
No.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Galligan.
No.
Mr. Chair, that's 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative.
Vote is 3 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative. The petition is denied.
Thank you.
All right. What do we got, one more? One left. Taxes have been paid. Who's that?
Can we turn the sound down now? God, I just did the same thing.
Ever hear this? Is that better?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, the next petition is petition 2346, the petition of Leaf Relief Incorporated, 165 Westgate Drive, Brockton, Mass. For a special permitted use for retail marijuana use in a C2 zone located 165 Westgate Drive.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Scott Rubin, law offices at 71 Legion Parkway, 3rd floor, Brockton, Mass. On behalf of the applicant here, Leaf Relief, Inc., the current principal of that is Attorney Phil Nezrella, who is also here as well. I have Scott Ferrier from J.K. Holmgren Engineering, as well as Jose Guzman from Guzman Architects, who prepared the floor plans that you have before you. Again, this is 165 Westgate Drive, up at the Westgate Mall in a strip plaza. Very busy, obviously, retail neighborhood up at the Westgate Mall. This happens to be a C2 location. This is for essentially a renewal of a special permit that was previously granted by this board back in May 16th of 2019. And we had proceeded, or Attorney Nezralla had proceeded to complete his construction drawings. He did have a delay in getting this marijuana facility up and running. We went through a change of control application in which the original 3 principals had decided to pursue other opportunities, and so we came before the City Council and the License Commission to effectuate a change of control application, which Attorney Nezralla was approved. By the time we were ready to file our construction drawings, which we did with the building department, recently the building department had informed Mr. Guzman that the special permit had expired. As a result of reviewing that, we actually looked at our site plan approval as well and realized our site plan approval had expired. And so the original planning board approval, which was good for 2 years, which was back in January of 2021, expired in January of 2023. I think due to COVID, there were probably some extensions in there, but they didn't quite reach the point where we filed for the building permit. And so we were before the planning board back in October 3rd of 2023, in which they approved our extension for two years for the same project. Again, this project was approved back in May of 2019. It's a strip plaza. It's a bay in the strip plaza. Nothing has changed as far as the project is concerned at all, short of some movement of the interior layout has changed slightly based on the recommendations of our consultant who has experience in this field. And so really, this is essentially the identical project that was approved back in 2019. The only difference that we would request, I think back then the original hours of operation under the bylaw was approved was 8 to 8, and since then, the city council had voted to approve and expand hours of operation in the city for marijuana retail from 8 to 10 p.m. So I just add that that would be a request of the applicant to match the hours of all the other current open and operating facilities in the city. Just by way of, I guess, location, again, I don't know if you have the, we have essentially a bay of, in the Strip Plaza. We have 14 spaces. There's quite a lot of parking spaces in this location. I think we have in excess of, it's getting late at night, forgive me, 141 spaces. It's kind of dark over here. 141 spaces in this location and only needing 116. We've designated the shaded gray area for the parking directly in front of this with a dedicated handicap access as well. There would be, again, the same entrance would be in the front of the facility, and the deliveries would be around the rear. So again, nothing has really changed about this whatsoever. We're going to propose a dumpster location, I think, down in the far right-hand corner at the edge of the pavement area that would be far enough away from the building. This is an existing strip plaza that's been there since, what year, Phil? 1989, and it has plenty of open access off Westgate Drive, plenty of flow for public safety vehicles, and again, a generous amount of parking for egress and ingress for customers that we hope will be, if this is approved, a very busy marijuana dispensary. We did have back in 2019, Attorney Nasrallah did have a transportation study done, and it really, for this busy area up at Westgate Drive, there was no indication there would be excessive traffic flow in this particular area for this particular use. Again, I think compared to 2019, we have quite a bit of experience, myself included, representing these facilities in this city. We found that that they're really just standard. The product is different, but essentially they're treated as retail locations, and found that they're people that just go about their business. And this is again, it's designated at C2. The zoning bylaw required it to be located in C2 location, and it's treated really just like any other retail location, which is really a perfect fit for this particular neighborhood, as it's essentially a retail area with the mall. So. With that, I would ask that the board approve this special permit. Thank you.
Basically, the board's responsibility in this vote is to determine if this is a proper location to house this facility. There are certain parameters. The 500-foot radius,
yes,
no education and everything, that
right.
is...
Right. Same as before, yes.
And the other map of the 1,000-foot radius, which shows us everything that's within 1,000 feet, is
yes.
accurate?
Yes, I believe earlier today we submitted the 1,000-foot context map, Mr. Chairman.
Have that.
We have that.
So the education one was 500 feet.
Correct. That, yeah, the 1,000-foot context map really, I guess, was just part of the really site plan review, actually, and just to show what else is in the neighborhood. But the 500 feet is there's really not much in the 500 feet, quite frankly, and I'm not sure there's another structure in that area that's within 500 feet, really. Just some empty land in the corner of one of the other buildings up there. So.
And you have a host agreement?
Yes, we do.
So that's all in place?
Yes.
Now,
we have a provisional license from the state as well. Really, we were really pretty much up to and including filing for the building permit, and building department diligently had checked and seen that we were just had expired on the special permit, and so that kind of kicked us back. So other than that, we would have already been started this project. So
the 8 o'clock cutoff has been changed to 10 o'clock.
Yes.
7 days?
Yes.
7 days from
Yes.
7 till
8 to 10.
8 to 10?
Yes.
10 o'clock at night?
Yep.
I went over the application. It appears as though everything that we need to discuss here we have in hand, so.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Any comment? Any questions?
Sure. If this was approved, would the owners or the business owner be willing to give a donation to DW Field Park yearly?
I don't know. I don't know if that's.
I'm not sure we can, there's been some new legislation about that. We do have a host community agreement that provides for certain charitable contributions relative to our positive impact plan, and new legislation has just come out that we're going to be modifying those host community agreements in which there can't be any tie-ins between the city and the dispensary other than the impact fees that they're required to certify. We're no longer allowed to make any charitable donations as part of our project. So if it's legal, we'd be happy to make any donation that the board considers. As long as it's legal, it gets past the law department.
When does that law take place? Do you know?
It just was approved. The law was actually approved, I believe, a year ago, and then the CCC just went through a regulatory approval of the new HCA regulations, which I think are still potentially pending with the AG's office. I'm not sure if they've actually, I think they take a 90-day review before they go into actual effect, but most of the host community agreements that I've been doing around the state have all pretty much adopted the new regulations as we're coming up on renewals. And so I think the expectation is the AG's office is going to just approve those regulations, and they should be in effect really any day now. So to the extent that we're able to do that, we're certainly happy to do it.
Sure. And I only ask because we struggle for funds there, but if it's a non-issue or if we can't do it, that's fine.
We can talk about.
Legislation said that the fee for all this has to be directly related to
Correct.
the facility.
Yeah, not just directly related, but from the city's standpoint, they have to provide us receipts and proof of incurrence. So, I mean, that's where our hands are sort of tied on that legislation.
What it was when it first started out.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you.
So if this was approved, you're probably going to see a stipulation that this would be operated in conformance with all current regulations, state, and, rather than get wordy in the thing.
Oh, of course. We need to follow those guidelines, and we have we have a handbook of state regulations, sure.
That's why I don't think we need to get too deep into it, other
Sure.
than to determine if it's a proper location for it.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members? We good? All right, is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor? Seeing none, I'll ask if there is anyone here that wants to speak in opposition. Seeing none, I'll ask if there is any elected official that wants to speak on the issue.
Thank you.
Councilor.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, Shirley Azak, Ward 7 City Councilor. And this isn't the first time I've been before you regarding this petition. Last time they were here in 2019, I was here with them. As far as location goes, I think, this is in a retail area. There isn't a lot of residential. There is no schools close by there, so anybody that's going there, they're going specifically to do business at these stores. So I totally support this. I hope you will as well. And I just want it to move quicker. I think we don't need any more empty buildings. We want to develop our businesses. Economic development is huge in the city. We need businesses to open their doors. So I think COVID's taken enough of our time, and we need to get this moving. So I hope you will support this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other elected official that wants to be heard on the issue? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone that has any questions relative to the testimony that has been given tonight? Seeing none, I'll close that portion of the hearing. That concludes the public hearing. I will now open it up for discussion among the board members. Board members.
I just have a question, Mr. Chair. You spoke of the state stipulations. Would the new hours, Mr. Rubin asked about the 8 to 10, would the new hours of 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. ought to be automatic. We don't have to put a stipulation in for that, right? It would fall into the same ordinance?
I don't think we do, because the city council voted to adopt that. Correct, yeah.
Okay, so we don't need to put anything on that. I just didn't know if we needed to put something in
I
writing.
think the simplest thing for us as a board is to just mandate that they be in conformance with state and local regulations relative to the sale of marijuana, and that, no problem.
Perfect. Thanks.
We don't need to get out and tell them how to run their business.
Yep.
Are there no school locations at Westgate Drive? I was watching a school committee meeting last night, and they had mentioned a Westgate
They had office
Drive.
space.
Is it offices?
I think it was always office space, if I'm not mistaken.
And I thought they were kind of maybe ramping that up for student use, no?
I'm not aware of that. I know they had office space up there, though.
So just a point of information, there's office space, and if they are anything, it would be on the other side towards the hotel, near the Holiday Inn.
Okay.
It's towards that plaza, if there is anything. I know that's where the school department was using space. There used to be a daycare, but it's closed. It's no longer in the mall. It's no longer there.
Okay, thank you.
It would be a 500-foot buffer. I don't think anything would be close to that 500 feet on that context map. Like I said, I don't even think there's a building, another building, maybe a portion of it in our 500 feet.
As the petitioner, you're testifying to us that you are confirming that there is no educational within 500 feet.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. That we're taking that as gospel truth. All right. Any other questions from board members?
No, I'll make a motion to grant.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to grant, and I'll tell you, the only stipulation that I will put in the decision is based upon state and local regulations relative to the sale of marijuana. Beyond that, I think we should let the regulations determine how this place is going to run. Motion's made and seconded. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Landis.
Yes.
Chief Nadelli.
Yes.
Mr. Sweeney.
Yes.
Ms. Greenberry.
Yes.
Chair Gallagher.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, that's 5 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative.
Vote is 5 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The petition is granted. That is the last case, correct? All right, that is the last case of the evening. I would entertain-
Motion to adjourn.
Adjourn. Motion's been made and seconded. We are adjourned.